No, no, Facebook, I misspoke.
Facebook.
Yeah,
No, I think it's,
well, maybe it
it's
will. I
now
don't know.
live YouTube, isn't it?
Okay. Do we need to tell them that we're here, but that we'll be starting soon? Thousands of people.
Guess they give you a time slot, put you in, huh?
You're talking about. I'll agree with you on all. I just don't understand who spends all the time reading all the X stuff or whatever there is.
I hadn't figured out X either. I hadn't tried hard.
Well, I got Facebook
Huh?
because, but I don't have any friends, which whether I have Facebook or not, I still don't have any friends.
I'll be your friend.
Thank you, Tom. But, well, I see people. I said, look, I saw something, you wanted to be my friend, but don't take it personally, but I'm nobody's friend. I said, I don't want anything coming in. I get like, of course, the Harbor, the Loft, because I like to know what entertainment they have there. So I get their messages and one other one. Yacht Club. And I think that's.
You know, a lot of that doesn't come from the guy that wants to have the friend. Because I get a request from a guy that I know has been dead for 6 years.
And he wants to be your friend. Does he
And
say, come
it
meet
pops
me?
up on a thing. Be friends with, friends.
Oh, yeah, I've got those. Yeah, you might want to be friends with. Something like that, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, they're ready.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. We'll call the meeting to order. 3:07. Our last meeting was May the 28th, and we approved the minutes for the April meeting. We had no June meeting, no July meeting, therefore, no minutes. We'll entertain the harbor master and his report, please.
All right, gentlemen, welcome back from your summer break. Just to get you reacquainted with what's going on here, I'm Sean, the harbor master. Hope everybody has had a good summer. We will start with, in the order that we normally do, which is the 450 general ledger report, the fancy one. And I wish I had some remarkable news for everybody, other than things are still just kind of clicking along the way they should be.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I don't have any strokes of marvel or anything to point out to you. So if you look at the year-to-date actual column right there in the center of the page, I'll just simply point out that our total revenues is a little bit over $1 million at this point. Again, this report is of July 31st, and even though it does have a date of July 31st, there are still revenues and expenditures in July that will not get posted until August. So the July number actually includes some of June's revenue and expenditures, but as of the 31st, it was a little bit over $1 million. If you go down to the expenditure summary and the total harbor, underneath that, we're at $909,595. So the good news is that we continue to spend less than what we take in, which is the ideal scenario. And of course, whatever's left over, we shift over into one of the two harbor funds. And so that's a good trend. So we're still trending in the right direction. I do want to point out something regarding these numbers. And I checked with with Mike Riso. It came to my attention a little while back that back in, I believe, not sure which meeting it was, which city council meeting it was, but they did some budget revisions at that time to more accurately reflect revenue and expenditure. I don't believe it was just solely the harbor. So these numbers have been adjusted to a certain degree, which are not only our expense numbers, but our revenue numbers were adjusted upward some as well. So by comparison, the revenue number went from a little over $1 million on that line item up to 1.3. I asked Riso why that was done, and he said simply to make the budget reflect more accurately what is actually happening. That's the response I got. It was always my understanding that once you set a budget, the budget's the budget. So I do not have a more detailed explanation of why that took place. However, it simply changed the revenue numbers and some of the expenditure numbers. Like I noticed that when I brought it to his attention, that a couple of, what got my attention was the fact that some of our, if you look on page 3, some of the supplies in that category, some of those numbers actually had been adjusted up as far as the under the current budget line column. I noticed that our building materials went from what was budgeted of $5,000 for the year was adjusted upward to 10. So that got my attention on that. And then there was a couple of other line items in there that got my attention as well, knowing that's not where we stood at this point in the year. Now, it is not my intention to spend any more than what we have to spend, but I found it a little odd that these numbers were off. And so when I approached Mike Riso about it, that was the explanation that I got. So it makes certain line items in our expenditure category look a little bit better because we were trending over on some of those with, you know, typical maintenance type things that we do on a monthly basis, weekly basis. Cost of materials, you know, continues to go up. So we were over in some of those line items, not by much. But if you go back and look, say, at like May or June's 450 report, those numbers are different. So again, for expenditure-wise, it makes the year-to-date percentage numbers look a little bit better. But I don't know exactly what the thinking behind revising those numbers are. So right now, if you look at charge for services, take slip rental revenue, for instance. That number got adjusted upward by about $15,000. So really, we would be at about 90% right now, where according to this newest revised budget, we're only at 83%. Again, I don't think we're going to have any issues. I mean, when at the end of the year, when I look at these numbers and I gauge how our performance has been, at least from a revenue standpoint on paper, I always like to see it above 100%. So I was a little disappointed in that these numbers have changed somewhat, but I still don't believe we're going to have any issues with exceeding where we were come at the end of our fiscal year compared to last fiscal year. All right, is there anything in particular on this 450 that y'all want to discuss while we're on this one? And it may be a good time, before I ask you if you have any questions, to go ahead and get into where some of the changes that I've proposed, and at this point, City Council has agreed to move forward with for next year's fiscal budget. I actually have proposed a 3.3% slip fee increase. I mean, in the year before, we did a little more of it was more like 8 or 9%. We seem to be on track with our revenues in that area at this point. So the 3.3% will basically equate to an across the board 15 cents per foot increase. And what that means on an annualized basis is right at about $25,000 in additional revenue generated just on that one line item. We've done real well so far this year when it comes to what our utility fee covers, which is essentially electricity, water, internet expense, and telephone, some of those typical utility type things. We're actually a little bit on the plus side on those numbers. So I did not see the need at this point to increase our utility fees. You know, that's the flat fee that we charge for the 30 amp or the 50 amp service, but that also includes some of the, water, our internet expense, and some of those other miscellaneous categories. So I proposed that we leave those where they are for now. We'll reevaluate those as we need. Hopefully some of those things will start to come down. The other category where I did actually propose an increase is on our transient rate fee. We've been pretty, I would say, average compared to other facilities along the Gulf Coast. We're certainly below average a good bit by transient rate standards over in Florida. We're actually still a little bit lower than some of the New Orleans harbors and marinas, but compared to the other, like from Biloxi down to us, we're about average. So we're currently at $1.50 per foot. I proposed that we raise that to $1.75 per foot. I think that's a fair, moderate increase on that. I do not foresee that affecting our transient business whatsoever. In fact, people typically comment on our transient rate that it's not as high as it could be in some other areas. And they're very pleased to be in our harbor. So that, I believe, if I remember correctly, would equate to about another $3,000 to $4,000 in transient revenue, which, for us is nice, just good income that does not come with much expenditure. So we get a nice return on that. As far as our income revenue, those were the only two areas that I proposed an increase. On our supply line item and some of our expenditures that has to do with our daily maintenance of the harbor, I did ask for a bit of an increase in some of those line items, particularly in our building supplies, paint supplies, parts and miscellaneous supplies. It's our intention to focus this off-season on doing more of those recommended maintenance type things. Y'all remember the Moffitt and Nickel report that they came and inspected the harbor and said we should be focused on these things in the next 2 to 3 years and these things in the next 3 to 5 years. So we're going to be looking at doing some of those things as well. So City Council had no issues with any of that. I think it shows a good effort on our part at the harbor in doing those recommended maintenance things that that report suggested we did. But other than that, I really don't have any other information on that other than it looks like we will move forward with those increases. Y'all have any questions on those comments at this point?
The only, while we're in the financial side of it, we have that transfer out of $120,000. So we have that interest on that loan still, and principal payments, imagine coming up. What's the status of the getting enough money to do repairs and FEMA and all of that business?
Yeah. Had a little bit of a discussion with Mike and the mayor regarding that. It's been a couple of weeks or so, but it looks as if we will be able to use the harbor grant money from the 2 previous years that we had received to reallocate those funds over to the use of that money for the repair of the parking lot. So that's good news. It's got to go through its process, of course, which may require some legislative approval. And then, of course, MDMR has to give their blessing to that as well. But the FEMA repairs that the loan was actually taken out for is still in the review process. Unfortunately, I don't have any new information to give you on that front, other than it came up a couple of weeks ago. I saw Jason. I asked him if he had any new information on it. He said he had not received any additional information. They're still, asking us questions. We answer those questions. They come back with more questions. Really, I've gotten so frustrated with it that I've kind of stopped asking my questions. I've just told, look, Jason, when you and Mike have some information that you think would be helpful to me, let me know. So it's still out there in the ether at FEMA, I guess, going through its review process.
On the repairs to the parking garage, are we looking, not garage, excuse me, the parking lot, are we looking at a temporary, partial fix, or are we looking at doing it right with this grant program?
Well, initially the thought was, okay, well, we will do a temporary fix. That's when the whole idea of injecting foam in those voids and crevices came about, and then we had the discussion of, okay, well, is it really worth putting that money basically into a hole and watching it go away, because whenever we do the fix, that will have to be torn out. And so I think we all kind of came to the consensus of we're not, obviously it needs to be repaired, but we're not in jeopardy of the parking lot falling in. So I think the standpoint at this juncture is that we're going to get the money and we're going to fix it for good. And even with the grant funds, we're still shy of what the overall dollar figure was to do all the things that Moffitt and Nickel suggested we do. I think there's still some debate on, do we do everything that Moffitt and Nickel recommended, or is there a way to fix this without having to create the weep holes? And I'm of the opinion, and this is just my opinion, I'm not an engineer, obviously, but, you know, if you're gonna be there, you might as well do it the right way the first time. And, you know, but you've gotta have the funds to be able to do it.
Yeah, that was where my last recollection was, that we didn't have the money, and trying to find the money.
Well, and I believe there's some other some other ideas that are being floated with some other funding opportunities. I don't know that I can really speak of it at this point because I don't know where they are with it. Other than I was in the discussion with the mayor and Jason and Mike Riso that it looks like they will be reaching out to some other resources that will probably be able to make up that delta between what we've already been told can probably be reallocated and used and what that total cost is going to be for the complete fix.
What about, has another boating infrastructure grant come up?
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with Rhonda Price over at DMR about an idea that I had for a big grant, but they're not going to issue us a grant for the parking lot fix.
Yeah, I didn't know if we could get it for something else that we need.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then go the other way with.
Well, and that's what's frustrating about this is that, yes, we have plenty of over-the-water items that we could be using these funds for, what their intended purpose were for. And so I've kind of, you know, restructured my thinking about, okay, well, are there some other areas that we can focus on to go after? And I've got a few ideas, and I've discussed those with Rhonda Price, who is over at DMR, that's the big grant is her,
Yeah.
in her pool of things that she does. So yeah, it's one of the things that I'm kind of looking at doing.
I haven't seen, we haven't had any legal fees lately, which is good. But I don't know if they're being accumulated like happened last time.
Right.
And then we got
Right.
a big bill, but.
Well,
haven't-
the last, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the last few couple of months of invoices that we've gotten, there are still fees happening. The general harbor fees, anytime I have a question for Heather or have an issue or whatever, those always tend to be very, you know, small anyway, a couple $100. But I don't believe we've received an invoice in the last several months that was astronomical like we've been seeing in the past.
Well, the litigation, I guess.
Right, and that's what
There's no activity on the litigation, I'm assuming, other than.
Well, I used to not get a copy of the invoice from Butler Snow regarding the litigation portion. I would always receive just General Harbor. So I requested to be able to get those, and now we're getting those each month when they're sent from Butler Snow. They used to go just directly, that one used to go directly to Mike Reset. So I asked to be included on that so I could kind of keep up with it as well. Compared to some of the larger ones, the last few have been relatively moderate. Now that probably means not a lot's happening.
Well, it can't happen
But-
until, well, I understand, until we get something really definitive, like we spent this money, it cost us $2 million to fix this parking lot,
Right.
and we had to fix it because,
Right.
and it's all documented right there, and then we have a better case? or
I
a
think that,
case?
I think that's the consensus from city council and the folks over at City Hall is that if we can get in it and show this is what's, what the true problem of, and the nature of it, and how big it is, that might motivate some
Yeah. make
some
it-
quicker movement.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's all the
Sure.
questions I had on that.
Okay, all right. No other questions regarding budget at this point? Okay, all right, well, we'll move forward then. I don't know if I have these in order of the agenda or not, but I apologize. So the next one,
Harbor Sales is the next one I've got.
okay, that's what I'm looking at, the harbor sales. So let's see here, July. We'll go back to June since we didn't get over those numbers. Very typical, for June, standard. Diesel sales, a little over 13,000, gas, a little over 81,000 for a total of 94, which is pretty average, pretty standard for June. ICE sales of $648. So then we'll move forward to July. We have 15,000 in diesel, 75,000 in gas, for a total of 91,420. And then ICE sales is at about $938. So nothing out of the unusual or ordinary there. All right, I've got the slip numbers next. Is that what y'all have? Okay. All right. So let's look back at July since we didn't go over those numbers last month. We were at 92% overall. August, we stay at 92% as well. Still 100% of our 65-foot slips out there on Dock 5 are leased for both July and August. And it's so funny that we were so worried about those 65-foot slips filling up. And I guarantee you, right now, if I had another dock of 65 and 75 foot, we could probably fill them, in a month or two. We're just getting that. So we're getting way more requests for those larger slips than we are for the smaller slips at this point. 60-foot slips, we're still at 89% there. I've got that one down in the corner that you got to be able to put the right thing in there, but we're good there.
Is that where the big gray boat was? Did he leave?
No,
Oh,
no. This is the one that's literally kind of in that corner. That the slip is kind of shaped like a triangle.
On what pier?
One.
Oh, okay.
Right there by the steps. As you
Oh,
walk down the
okay.
seawall, it's
Yeah.
that first one right there to
Yeah.
your left.
Oh, yeah. Next to where the gray one.
Yeah.
50-foot slips, we're still at 100% on those. 45-foot slips, 91% for both months. Foot slips, we've come up just a little bit from 79% to 81%. I think we only have a couple of them that are on Dock 4. Most of them are out on Dock 5. And then 35-foot slips, we're at 95%. All the 25-foot slips are leased. So we're staying, again, above 90%, which is
Awesome.
good. Very good. Just for y'all's information, I've had a couple of conversations with the new harbor master over at Pass Christian. And now granted, they have twice the slips we have, but I think according to him, they're staying at like 40 to 50. They really want to make an effort over there to try to boost things, but I think we're doing very well.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
All right, so let's move to the aging report, which, again, nothing out of the ordinary here, other than, well, no, it's not out of the ordinary. Julie continues to do a fabulous job of managing this. You can see her notes on there.
Yep.
She follows it like a hawk, and she's doing a great job with that. So, I don't have, if you have any questions, ask Julie.
Well, I was looking at, what is it? I know credit card fees are astounding. I don't know what our costs are, but we take in a lot of money. from credit card
I'm sorry,
fees.
what was that?
Credit card fees, I'm just impressed, we take in almost, year-to-date, $11,000 in credit card fees. I don't know exactly what our costs are, but I'm assuming we're covering that, and $6,000 in late fees. So, just keep a few of them out there, Julia, so we keep our late fee revenue. Try to maintain
In other words, don't work them too hard.
But that is remarkable.
Well, I mean, it's free money. And it's something that, I wish I could take all the credit for, but I will say that it's something that when I started, it was really kind of bad. The number of folks that were 3-4 months behind, and they would eventually pay, but, it's something that we decided to change. It has not adversely impacted us, with people getting angry, and I mean, your electric bill is 2 months behind, they're gonna charge you a late fee.
Yeah, it was an undisciplined process early on, so you all did do the right things to get it where it needs to be.
I just thought it needed to be changed, and Julie said, yep, I can handle that. She took it, and we haven't had an issue with it, so. So kudos to her,
Yeah, great job.
although it's my genius idea. All right, operational report, again, y'all know what that is. That's just our daily account of what's going in the bank and what's coming out of the bank. It's not necessarily a reflection of what the 450 report says because of the overlap in posting and not posting, and this is just so we can see what we've taken in and what's going out. It just gives us an idea of really just kind of tracking our expenditures for the month, what we've spent the money on.
Where the 10 posts going?
The what?
The 10 posts. Your
Oh,
expense,
yeah, so those are 6x6 posts. And the Rutherford Fishing Pier out there,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's gotta be 2 miles worth of 6x6 posts that are, cut at 48 inches or whatever they are. Some of those are starting to get a little bad.
I hadn't noticed them, so I was wondering.
Yeah, that's part of we're buying things now sort of in small steps. So it's not just, a $10,000 purchase of 4x4 posts or 6x6 posts. But some of them are starting to go bad, and it's one of those preventive maintenance things that we've looked at that we realize, okay, we're gonna have to start working on some of these things. And there's a lot of, there's a lot out there. So anyway, there's your totals for the Harbor Fund and the Capital and Maintenance Fund at this point in date.
Now, where is that? I'm sorry, I got. On the bottom.
It's on the bottom of that spreadsheet
Operational
looking.
report. Last one.
Okay, I got it, yeah, thank you.
I don't really have any, big things to tell you guys other than, y'all remember the parking fiasco from Memorial Weekend. We put our signs up. We've got nice, big, pretty white signs with red lettering now that say,
Don't park it.
permitted parking only, all others will be towed at owner's expense, and that seems to have kind of deterred a little bit of it. I mean, we have to still kind of get on some folks here and there. But I will say, July 4th weekend, so that was, what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was a 4-day weekend. It was all hands on board. We were all there. I spent the money on the overtime. We rotated 1-hour shifts of who sat down there on the golf cart. And if you didn't have your parking pass, you got directed somewhere else. And so it turned out to be a good weekend. I really would prefer not to do that every, holiday weekend, but really it's 2 weekends out of the year. We'll work it how we need to. Other than that, been some miscellaneous things. We're working on doing some repainting right now on the garbage can lids and miscellaneous things. I painted the mailbox. So nothing major. Y'all know we don't get too deep into a whole lot of the larger projects during the busy season. Got a couple of things targeted for this off season. Again, it's more like some dock boards, and the Rutherford Fishing Pier type stuff and other miscellaneous things. We will be getting a new point of sale for the harbor office and updating our fuel communication digital e-box is what they call it. So we're going to update some of our electronics for our fuel system, new sensors, new control box, all of that stuff is starting to kind of show some age and wear from the salty sea air and moisture. So we will be doing some updating in that regard, which is going to make things run smoother for the fuel dock, and it will make us a little more all of the reporting that we have to do on a monthly or annual basis for the fuel tanks and all of that for the state and the other entities. It'll kind of streamline that process, make it a little easier on us to do some of those things as well.
Will the new point of sale allow you to pay at the tank, at the pump now, or you still gotta walk up to the harbor?
No, we've been doing that now for, maybe 2 or 3 months.
You can see how little I've been fishing this summer.
Man, y'all gotta come to the harbor more often. No, so we're doing that all down on the dock, and believe me, it does make a huge difference. Not only in effort on our part, or if someone's walking all the way up to the office, but timing. We can turn a boat around so much quicker now, being able to do that down there now. Before used to, whoever was bringing the cart all the way up, and now before that individual could even make it to the office, we've got the transaction done and the boat's gone. Plus the card stays, there next to the owner of the card, which is good. So that's been going very well.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah. Happy to have that done.
I hadn't been in a while through the harbor, maybe a month or so. From the outside, did we get the day markers repaired?
You mean the couple that are on the very
Square
front?
and the triangle.
The square, the green square and the red triangle. No, we haven't. And again, that's part of the FEMA thing, and yeah, it's very important navigational aids to navigation. But I think we satisfied the Coast Guard in the standpoint that we got all of our red and green light channel marker, the entrance marker, and the obstruction markers, all put those back out there. But I do need to get the day marker. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing you see when you come in.
Right.
So it's your
Right.
front door. So
Yeah.
That'd be
Yep.
great.
Yep. Yep. I will.
There was chat up for some on the Facebook about people didn't know they got a boat, but they have no idea what to do when a hurricane comes. and looking for a hurricane hole.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if somebody in Facebook mentioned it, or I heard it somewhere else, that, you know, if they came and they asked the harbor staff, where do we go? You know, one could point them to Bayou Malini, or point them to, Gar Lake,
Mhm.
and just let them know that's available to them.
Yeah, I will say, anytime anybody comes to our office with it, that's exactly what we tell them. You know, your options are either you go up Wolf River, Jordan River, Bayou Portage on the other side, Gar Lake right there. As far as procedure goes, there shouldn't be any question about things because we've sent out,
Oh, no, they have that. What
Okay.
I'm saying is, you know, you're dealing obviously with a small percentage, hopefully, of people who like are clueless. And.
you might be giving some more credit than you should, saying small
and,
number, but
And I just, you know, if you all are doing that, that's
We are.
good. If they
Yeah.
go to the office and say, hey, where do people go in a hurricane? And you say, look, you can go here, 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 you know, take your pick, look at your chart.
Yep.
And.
yeah, we do that anytime we have any question. In fact, you know, if someone's coming to our office with a new lease agreement or whatever, a lot of those questions do come up. And I also tell them, really the first thing you need to do is you need to contact your insurance company,
Yes.
because they may be the ones that dictate to you what your plan should be. And if you don't follow that plan, they're not going to cover any claim that you may have if you're not following what they're asking you to do.
Yeah,
That's first.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you know, we tell them if you need a haul-out service, Past Yacht Works over there on the other side of the bay does that. We point out some of these miscellaneous hurricane holes and things like that. So yeah, it's, and then we also we have a list of boat captains
Oh,
that they
that's
can,
great.
that they can contact
Yeah,
if,
that's
you know, if someone lives in Missouri
Right,
and they can't get down here for that, we recommend they have someone who can operate your vessel, in the case that you can't get here to it.
yeah, I haven't, you know, you read that and I don't respond, you know, as a harbor commissioner or anything. But I'm tempted to say, why don't you know, have you talked to the harbor personnel about your problem
Right.
instead of putting it out here on Facebook?
Right.
You know, go to the people that can help you resolve it.
And we're more than happy to do it.
Yeah, I just, but that's the nature of the beast.
Sure.
So, well, that's good, y'all can help
Yeah,
them
yeah.
out.
You didn't think of that when you bought the boat?
Well, I'm saying that's what you got. Then they get into anchoring and wanna know how to anchor their boat. You know, which that's okay too, but there's courses you can, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Other seminar.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Since you're in the process of repainting those lids on the garbage cans out there, you think you could put a sign up saying, don't dump fish carcass?
Ooh.
Because sometimes it's pretty rough. And
Yeah.
when the wind's blowing in that direction, it flies and everything running around, you know?
Yeah, I'll look into that. I can
Maybe
probably,
just some stickers or something.
yeah, I can probably get SNL Office Supply to just make up something that,
Just go out and run it out in the water and put
Yeah.
the fish heads over and out.
yeah. Well, when it comes to that, I mean, obviously, you're not supposed to, like, I mean, number one, you shouldn't be standing on the back of your boat catching fish in the harbor. Number two, if you come back in from a fishing trip and you're cleaning or whatever, you certainly shouldn't be dumping your fish in the water. And then, you know, we try to make everybody understand that you need to double bag the remains and take them and put them in the dumpster. But we know that doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen at the cleaning tables. It doesn't happen out on the docks. So yeah, I will look into that, and it may actually, you know, I'll send out an email reminding folks that they need to be placing those in the dumpster and not in the garbage cans out on the
Well,
dock.
in the dumpsters where, in the parking lot is where I was talking about. I don't know what else they could do with them.
Oh, I thought you meant like in the garbage cans out on the docks.
The dumpsters, they get full over there and then
Well, I will say it became a little bit of a problem, and I purchased some, it's an enzyme spray that is made specifically 4 harbors, marinas that have cleaning stations and things like that, that you can spray in the dumpsters, that is supposed to eliminate the odor. And it's worked pretty good so far, the times that we've noticed and that we've used it. But it doesn't take long for those things to get pretty stinky. You know, our garbage service picks up twice a week. So thankfully, you know, it's at least not sitting there a week. But, you know, we do the best we can with that. But if you notice it, please let me know. 'Cause your boat's kind of close.
I'm on the next pier. Sometimes when the wind's blowing, you can even smell it from there.
Yeah.
If it's,
If you notice it, I would like to know about it, please. Let me know.
yeah, okay.
Give me a call. Any other questions I can answer for you gentlemen?
Everybody good? All right.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. We'll go to new business, which is, we don't have that on the agenda, but as I mentioned previously, I've tendered my resignation as a commissioner and chairman of the commission effective October the 1st. It's really been, as I say in my letter, a pleasure for me to work with the city, the harbor master, everyone that's been involved in it over the past many years. And I look forward to seeing the harbor continue on in the great way of which it's been going all these years. So I'll give you a copy of that. I've sent a copy to the mayor and I sent a copy to Doug Seal. So I think I've notified everybody I need to notify, anybody that might care to be notified.
Will you be here for our next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
one
Well-
more meeting.
I'll just say, since you're bringing it up at this point, before it's on the record, I appreciate your diligence and commitment
Well, thank you very much.
to the harbor, to the commission, and what you've done. You've always been relatively easy to work with. No, but it's been a pleasure. We appreciate your efforts.
Well, thank you very much. So, all right, there be any other business? Except a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? All right. Anybody want to stay here? Okay. We're adjourned.
Would, you get somebody to take your place?
All right, you guys got to figure that out.